Hello, in this video we will be reading about Stories of Don Bosco. Will you be able to close the door, son? Thank you, sir. No, don't jump like that.
I wasn't jumping. I was just walking with it. Alright. Yes! Woo!
Alright, Stories of Don Bosco. He's somebody I want you to be like. That's what I want you to read about.
Remarkable memory.
A remarkable memory.
At high school, just as before, John found himself surrounded by boys who were much younger and much smaller than him. Consequently, he made up his mind to move up quickly. 2 months later, he requested an examination for entry into a higher class and was promoted. Delighted with the change, he studied harder than ever, and when he reached the head of the class, he asked for a second examination and was promoted again. Twice. When he came into this class, this teacher measured him up with a jaundiced eye. Jaundiced?
Jaundiced means a yellow eye, I think. But I don't know, it might mean a way of looking at a person, like sideways, you know?
Right.
Yes, very good.
Besides being older than the rest of the class, John still had a country air about him. This fellow here, he remarked to the class, is either a deuce or a genius. A dunce or a genius. He turned to John. What do you think? He asked. Although embarrassed, John answered quickly. Something in between, sir. All I want is to get on with my studies. If you really want to get on, the teacher continued a little more gently, you're in the right place. I'll certainly keep you busy. If you meet with any difficulty, let me know and I'll try to help you. If we hadn't been so afraid of the teacher, the boys told John after class, we'd have clapped your hands for you. We'd have clapped hands for you. We've never seen him treat anyone the way he treated you. I got 3 musketeers. Yep. He was in the class not more than 2 months when something happened which had everyone talking about him. One day, he says, the teacher was discussing the life of Aeschylus by the Latin author Cornelius Nepos. I did not have the book with me, for I had forgotten it. To cover up my mistake, I kept a grammar in front of me. Not knowing what else to do while listening to the teacher, I kept turning the pages this way and that, until some of my companions noticed it. At first there was some giggling, then open laughter. What's the matter? Said the teacher. Since all eyes turned on me, he ordered me to read the passage. Put the words in proper sequence for translation, and then repeat the explanation he had given. I stood up, still holding my grammar, and after repeating the passage from memory, recited the words in sequence with all the comments the teacher had just made. When I was through, my companions cried out in admiration and loudly applauded. This made the teacher furious. It was the first time in his experience he had been unable to control his class. He tried to rap me on the head, but I avoided his blow. Next, he asked those sitting near me for the reason for such an outburst. I was about to tell him everything when the others broke in. Bosco only had a grammar book in front of him all the time, they told him, but he recited and explained the passage as if he was reading it from the textbook. The teacher took the grammar from me and made me continue for a couple of paragraphs. I shall forgive you your negligence because of your amazing memory, he said suddenly, switching from anger to astonishment. You are a lucky boy. Make good use of such talent. Later, the teacher directed the monthly Latin test and the class settled down to translation. Before the others had scarcely time to read it over, however, John rose and placed his translation on the desk. The teacher looked up in surprise. Bosco, he ordered, bring that paper to me. John brought over his paper and the teacher read it. It turned out to be an excellent translation of the test he had dictated. The teacher looked up sharply. "There's something odd about this, Bosco," he said. "How could you translate the text so quickly?" "I knew what it was going to be, sir." "You did? Who on earth could have told you?" "No one, sir. I just dreamed that you were going to give that piece for a test." In another monthly test, an even more curious thing happened. The teacher had dictated at the test, and the boys had settled down to the translation. When shortly afterwards, John rose and laid his paper on the table. The teacher immediately seized the paper and examined it. "Bring me your rough copy as well, Bosco," he told John. John brought him the rough copy, and as the teacher read it, his eyes opened wide in amazement. On the previous evening, he had prepared the text for the test. When he had finished, he had found it too long and had dictated only half of it. John's rough copy, however, contained not only a translation of that part of the text he had dictated, but also the part he had omitted. The only way John could have seen the text would have been to break into his home. Impossible. What then? He drew a deep breath. "Bosco," he said at last, "I want you to tell me the truth. How on earth did you find out what I was going to give you for the test?" "Last night I dreamt that I was in class, sir," said John, "and you were dictating the test. This morning when I awoke, I wrote down on the rough copy everything you had dictated. On my test paper I wrote only the part you wanted." From that moment on, John became From that moment on, John became known to the class as the Dreamer.
Isn't he similar to somebody else?
Who?
You tell me. In the Bible? Joseph.
Oh, yeah.
Second to the Pharaoh, sold into slavery. So you see, God has an amazing memory. Alright? You have some amazing abilities. You just need to develop them. Alright? Pray to God and He will give it to you. He gave it to Roshi Vernon Kitabu Turner. With his one finger, he can defeat anybody that attacks him. How humble he must have been when he requested this as a child. That the God of our Creator, right, our Creator God, decided to give him this gift. Likewise, my son. By the way, P-Memory is a course that I bought with the $300 from you. And this course teaches you to do the same thing that Don Bosco could do. The only problem with it is it's built for adults.
So?
The first lesson is 2 hours long. You know what that means? I want to cut it down to 5 minutes each lesson.
There was a YouTube video that I saw that they were selling in an app, selling like each session was like 15 minutes, and it was like P-Memory. And you'd be like reading short texts as fast as you could, but comprehending them, not just reading them.
Well, there's also IQ, which I did purchase also, which is a rapid eye movement, rapid reading program, so that you stop the subvocalization. What is subvocalization? Subvocalization is when you, as you are reading silently, you hear the words that you're saying. Some people even move their lips as they're reading. In subvocalization, if you eliminate that, then you should be able to recognize words in seconds. Like if I show you a picture of an elephant, you automatically say, correct. So that is the technique I want you to develop. That is what homeschooling would be about. With those skills, reading 1,000 words a minute and comprehending and memorizing it, even if you read 500 words a minute.
That would be very impressive.
The schools don't teach these things.
I know that a guy that has can move both his eyes in different directions.
Yes.
And he reads 2 pages at once.
Is it on YouTube or somebody at school? Yes, I've heard of someone like him. There was another person though that's clairvoyant. Do you know what that means? Something like Don Bosco. I dreamt about it, so I already knew what the answer was going to be or what the question was going to be. A clairvoyant person. Remember a reader, a palm reader or something like that? Mm-hmm. Okay, they tell you the future. King Saul went to see a palm reader. Mm-hmm. And the reader said, bring me up Samuel, who was already dead. And Samuel shows up. God speaks to King Saul through Samuel, the prophet, who is already dead. And the news is, tomorrow you and your sons will die. So a reader, there was one that was famous. I heard about him on YouTube or somewhere, where he could pick up any book and then he'd put it down. Why? All he had to do was touch the book and he knew who did what and what was the answer in the book. For instance, a mystery. Those books are famous, like for entertainment. So he would pick up and he would know what was the answer to the whodunit book, who did the murder and things like that. So he couldn't read books because he says, I already know the ending. And he's done. Some people have that gift. All right, go do what you're supposed to be doing. Good night, my friends. Keep reading about Don Bosco and other great people that God has put on earth. Iron sharpens iron. This means that one man can sharpen another. I believe we can learn from women and we can learn from men. We can learn from children, we can learn from anyone. We can learn from meditation when we sit in a room all by ourselves, or we float in a flotation tank, or play in a swimming pool, or we sit at the park, or we're sitting with a dog and we talk to our dog. You can learn. Many times I picture my grandpa because he would tell me certain things, such as always have a gun, $1,000, and your passport. One time he had to leave Honduras immediately, so he left. Now you might need $5,000 to $10,000, who knows. My passport has expired maybe 10 years ago already. But you need to get, now that I'm producing results, I'm taking action. There's a phrase that says, action creates production. Production creates income. Income creates wealth. Take action now. So I'm on a journey to become wealthy. I'm about to become richer. And the reason that I accept this abundance is because a friend of mine needs a better wheelchair and a bunch of other things. I cut grass to help other people. Good night, my friends.